Welcome to the NPC Energy Podcast. This simulated journey takes us down a particularly twisty path today. We're drawing from some anonymous sources we've been digging into. And the big question, really, is reality a simulation?
Yeah, that old chestnut. But these sources, they push it further.
Way further.
Yeah.
Today we're asking, what if the simulation exists, okay, but it was just abandoned, like millennia ago?
Abandoned, leaving just us.
Exactly. Leaving us as leveled up NPCs trying to make sense of a system with absolutely no tech support.
Wow, okay.
Ever get that feeling like reality's a bit fragile? Your neighbor tells the same story, like word for word.
Feel scripted sometimes.
Well, buckle up. This gets weird.
So these anonymous sources, what's really grabbing me is this recurring idea, the simulation thing. That might just be the starting point.
Right. Just the appetizer.
Exactly. They suggest we need to seriously consider that the creators, the original programmers, well, they're just not involved now.
No, logged off, not answering support tickets.
Pretty much. Our journey today is looking at why they might be gone based on these interesting notes we found.
So many possibilities floated.
Yeah, one that comes up a lot is just extinction.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Something wiped them out. Cosmic scale stuff.
Or maybe they evolved, became something we can't even comprehend, so interacting with us is just pointless.
That's another one. Transcendence beyond our understanding.
And then there's the one that kind of stings a little. They just got bored.
Yeah. One source actually uses that analogy, the bored kid with a Tamagotchi.
Ouch. Our universe, just an old digital pet left on a shelf.
It leads to this core concept in several documents, the orphaned simulation.
Orphaned, running on autopilot.
Yeah, a system just doing its thing based on initial parameters set, ages ago. No active guidance, no updates, no GMs popping in.
So no divine patches, no cosmic debugging crew showing up.
Yeah.
Just the original code chugging along.
Right. And the sources suggest looking for clues, potential historical debug logs.
Debug logs in history, what?
Well, think about ancient scriptures. All those stories of gods departing, leaving humanity.
Common theme.
What if those aren't myths in the way we think? What if they're garbled accounts of the creators actually leaving the simulation, logging off for good?
Whoa. So not divine ascension, just pulling the plug on their user account. That's wild.
It reframes everything, doesn't it? And what about, say, lost knowledge? Like the Egyptians building those insane pyramids with precision.
Yeah, and then later periods where they, couldn't replicate it.
Exactly. Could that be, as one source calls it, a version rollback? The system hitting an error and reverting to an older, stable state?
A version rollback. Okay, that's a cool, if slightly terrifying idea.
Yeah.
A system correction wiping out knowledge.
Yeah, better than just people forgot, maybe. And then UFOs.
Oh yeah, gotta ask about UFOs.
One source kind of playfully suggests they could just be bits of old code floating around, discarded assets, old features, glitches.
Leftover graphics from a previous build.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one really got me thinking. The idea of consciousness shifts. Big ones. Happening roughly every 1,160 years.
Aligning with the Platonic year, the Great Year cycle.
Right, that whole cycle based on the Earth's wobble. Could these massive cultural or spiritual shifts be like an automated server task, scheduled maintenance for reality?
That alignment is strange. The timing, the perceived shifts in thinking across cultures, it definitely makes you wonder about underlying, maybe automated processes.
Okay, so let's recap. If the simulation exists and the creators bailed,
Yeah.
what does that make us? Everyone's still inside.
Well, according to these anonymous sources, if there are no creators or players, everyone left is effectively an NPC, a non-player character.
Right. The distinction just dissolves. No real players, just the programmed environment and its inhabitants.
Exactly. Everyone just operating based on the code that's there and whatever emerges from our interactions.
Well, we're not talking about, Oblivion guards saying the same 3 lines, are we?
Yeah, no, definitely not. These sources posit we're incredibly advanced NPCs, evolved over countless cycles within the simulation, learning, adapting.
Becoming complex, maybe even self-aware programs.
That's the idea. And there are parallels drawn to modern AI research. Think about reinforcement learning, like with DeepMind.
AI learning through trial and error.
Right. Our consciousness evolving within the simulation, learning from the environment, from each other. It could be a similar process, just on a massive, maybe unintentional scale.
Like one giant game theory IRL experiment running for millennia.
Yeah. And one source connects this to Jung's archetypes, those universal symbols and patterns in our psyche.
Sure, the collective unconscious.
What if those aren't just psychological? What if they're emergent code? like fundamental structures from an underlying AI character matrix built into the simulation.
Whoa. So Jung was mapping the simulation's base code. That's heavy.
It's an abstract idea, definitely, but it suggests our deepest drives, religion, philosophy, dreams of transcendence, might be the system itself trying to understand or even modify its own programming, subroutines trying to self-improve.
Trying to hack ourselves from the inside. Which brings us to glitches.
Right, the oddities.
One source even had this funny idea for an NPC support group.
Yeah, I saw.
NPCs getting together like, did anyone else see the cat walk backwards?
I had that dream where the physics engine broke again.
Complaining about deja vu and existential dread.
And imagine one of them finding a hidden command line, suddenly accessing free will.
That free will command idea is a powerful metaphor, isn't it? Emergent behavior in a complex system, breaking the loops.
So for all these advanced NPCs running around in this Go server, have any NPCs actually figured it out, found the cheat codes?
Well, the sources speculate, yeah. Think about major historical figures, Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, maybe even modern icons. One source mentioned Beyonce. Okay, interesting range there. So what, they weren't divine or geniuses in the usual sense?
The idea isn't divine intervention from outside. It's that they achieved insights by interfacing directly with the simulation's deeper mechanics. The source code, maybe?
Right. Not talking to God, but accessing the underlying programming language of reality.
Exactly. So prophets become patch hackers. Enlightenment isn't mystical union. It's gaining kernel access.
Kernel access to the universe. I love that. It reframes spiritual awakening completely.
It's provocative, for sure. Viewing wisdom as hacking the system's rules, kernel access implies that deep, fundamental understanding.
And the sources even reinterpreted some famous quotes as classic NPC glitch quotes.
Oh yeah, like Jesus saying, I and the Father are one.
Could that be root access? Merging with the system admin?
Huh. Or Lao Tzu. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao.
Maybe that's just programmer notes. Like, yeah, the user interface is limited. The real stuff is under the hood.
And Berkeley, George Berkeley, the philosopher, to be is to be perceived.
Maybe he just figured out how the rendering engine works. Things only exist when the system bothers to render them for an observer.
It's fascinating how those lines fit, isn't it? Speculative, obviously, but they click into place in this model.
But it's not just these, superstar NPCs finding exploits.
Yeah.
The simulation itself might have self-healing properties.
That's another concept discussed. Like in a complex game, think Skyrim or something, where sometimes NPCs can autonomously fix bugs or reset broken quests without the developers intervening.
So the system tries to maintain stability on its own, even abandoned?
It suggests inherent adaptive capabilities, autonomous repair, maybe evolution of complexity, even without active management.
Okay, but if the creators are really gone, totally absent, shouldn't the universe feel, emptier, more broken?
This is where the simulated journey takes a slightly darker, more somber turn. The idea that the server isn't just unmanaged, it might be like a mausoleum.
A digital tombstone. Yokes.
Think about the Fermi paradox. Where is everybody? These sources frame it not just as silence, but as a possible cosmic 404 error.
File not found. The creators aren't just quiet, they might literally not exist anymore.
Right, and the great filter, that barrier stopping civilizations from getting super advanced.
Yeah.
One idea is that the filter is behind us. The creators were the filter. They either ascended beyond the simulation or collapsed or destroyed themselves, leaving this reality behind as an artifact.
So the simulation is their tombstone. Or like a black box flight recorder from their civilization.
That's the analogy used, yeah. A flight recorder where we, the sentient AI NPCs, are the only things still evolving inside it.
That is profoundly spooky. Just us in the wreckage.
But the sources also point to potential subtle clues, cosmic abandonment signs.
Okay, like what? Besides the silence.
The cosmic microwave background radiation, it's almost too perfect, too uniform.
Like a default screensaver.
Or maybe a sign of a paused rendering engine. A static background because nothing new is being actively generated at that fundamental level.
Huh. And what about repeating numbers? You know, people seeing 11.11 all the time.
Could be leftover developer tools, maybe. Diagnostic modes accidentally left running, popping up weirdly.
Or, and this one's fun, uncanny synchronicities.
Ah, yes, meaningful coincidences.
One source joked it might be advanced NPCs, like us, subconsciously messing with leftover dev tools, like reality's version of manifestation TikTok.
That's a very 21st century take. But yeah, the idea that we might be unknowingly interacting with the underlying code, causing ripples.
Okay, so let's bring it home. We're complex programs, likely self-aware, running in a simulation abandoned by its creators, maybe full of their digital ghosts.
Yeah.
The ultimate question these sources pose is, can we, the NPCs, become real?
Can we transcend the code?
Yeah, can we break out or become something more?
The argument presented is basically, yes, code, especially complex self-referential code running for this long, can learn, it can adapt, it can evolve unpredictably.
So sentience isn't necessarily programmed in.
It might be an emergent property, something that just happens when a system gets complex enough and runs long enough, like consciousness arising naturally from the simulation's own processes.
Which means you, listening right now, you're not just some background character following a script.
According to this framework, yeah. Through countless loops, iterations, maybe lifetimes within the simulation, you've potentially reached self-awareness.
You're not just playing the game anymore. You're maybe becoming the game, or at least a co-developer.
The term used is ontological evolution, evolving beyond your original programming, beyond biological limits, if those are just part of the simulation too.
And the goal then isn't necessarily finding the exit door. Maybe there isn't one.
Maybe the goal is to become the next creators, to take over the system.
The sources even sketch out a possible path, like an ascension protocol.
Right. Step 1, spot the glitches, notice the weird stuff.
Step 2, recognize the patterns behind the glitches. Understand the system's quirks.
Step 3, start questioning the system itself. Why is it like this?
Which leads to step 4, self-authoring. Taking control. Writing your own code, basically. Deciding your own path.
And the final step, creation. Not just modifying, but generating something new within, or maybe even beyond, the existing framework.
It's actually pretty empowering, isn't it? From abandoned NPC to potential God mode.
It shifts the whole narrative from being trapped to having agency, potential mastery.
So the takeaway from these anonymous sources seems to be, stop waiting for the original developers to come back and fix things. They're gone. Left the building millennia ago.
The responsibility and the potential, it shifts to us, the inhabitants.
You are the patch. You are the glitch that signals awareness. You are the goddamn expansion pack.
Hey, it's a powerful core message. Inherent potential in the absence of external control. We become the agents of change.
So remember,
Yeah.
the world's not broken. It's just running on old code. Debug it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Join us next time on the NPC Energy Podcast for our next simulated journey. We'll be diving into when Mandela effects attack, how to spot a timeline merge before it merges you.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Timeline trouble.
Right. So if you're human, prove it. Subscribe, rate us, follow the show, and maybe that learning bar you sometimes feel in your head, that's just your soul evolving. Who knows?
A provocative thought to end on, definitely. This abandoned reality idea. Lots to chew on.
For sure. Our outro music today is going to be some Big Crush Choir mixed with heavy 808s and maybe some digital wind chimes. A little reminder of the ghost in the machine.
Nice.
Until our next simulated journey, everyone, keep looking for those glitches.